Hello everyone, how are we doing today? I hope you are doing well. My name is Beth, or Queen of Spade. Please do give this video a like, subscribe if you're new, and without further ado, let's throw some spade. Except today, I think we are going to talk a little bit about some Norse mythology. Now, if there's anything you know about me, you would know that I find religions and spirituality to be very interesting despite being atheist. I have studied them in college. I find it very intriguing. I find the sociology and the psychology behind this very intriguing. I like to know why people believe what they believe. So let's get into what this is. Odin, Old Norse. Odin is the main god in Norse mythology, while also existing in Germanic mythology as Woden in Old English, Woden in Old Franconian, and Wotan or Wotan in Old High German. Described as an immensely wise, one-eyed old man, Odin has by far the most varied characteristics of any of the gods and is not only the man to call upon when war was being prepared, but is also the god of poetry, of the dead, of runes, and of magic. Part of the something or other family of the gods he helped create the world, resides in Asgard, the stronghold and home of the gods, and gathers slain warriors around him in Valhalla, Hall of the Slain, but is eventually crushed to death by the wolf Fenrir in a Ragnarok, the final destiny of the gods in which the world is destroyed. Oh, well, that sounds lovely. Odin is an old original character in Norse mythology, although as Jens Peter Skod points out, many scholars think that his elevated position at the top of the godly hierarchy may be a later addition. Odin's role of All-Father or Father of the Gods is more of a literary theme from later sources, seemingly influenced by Christian names for God, than an actual reflection of his status in Viking Age societies. Skaldic poetry, Viking Age pre-Christian poetry, mainly heard at courts by kings and their retinues, I definitely pronounced that wrong, for instance, names Balder, Thor, and Vali as Odin's sons, whereas later on the 13th century CE Icelandic author Snorri Sturluson also adds Heimdall, Tyr, Bragi, Vidar, and Hodor to the list. Incidentally, despite him being married to Frigg, a lot of these sons are from different mothers, and Odin appears in many stories as a womanizer, even boasting of his affairs, reminiscent of and perhaps inspired by Zeus from Greek mythology. Oh, isn't that wonderful? He seems like a wonderful dude. More tangible is Odin's functions as the god of war, which it would make sense that a certain person we know would then really like Odin. Despite his grisly look, he was never actually depicted as a warrior. That rather was Thor's gig, but was called upon when war was being prepared to hand out advice and special gifts. Yeah, sweetie, you ain't doing that. In southern and western Germanic sources, it was Odin who decided whether battles or individual warriors would be victorious or end in slightly less fortunate ways. Odin has his Valkyries, supernatural warrior women, bringing the bodies of fighters slain in battle to a special warrior paradise, Valhalla. These fighters are known as I'm not even going to try that, and become Odin's strike force against the encroaching powers of the underworld during the Ragnarok. Because of this aspect, individual warriors are also drawn into Odin's main group of worshippers, which otherwise mostly consisted of the elite, kings, chieftains, and poets. I'm a poet, so I'm definitely an elite person, I guess. As his scavenging of battlefields for recruits might give it away, Odin's connection with war flows naturally into a connection with the dead, which is further illustrated by Odin as the leader of the so-called Wild Hunt, a widespread and old Germanic cult centered around a myth of an army of the dead who ride on the storms. He is also the god of poetry through his knowledge of the runes as well as of magic, even being deemed the most skilled and knowledgeable of all the gods when it comes to this skill. So he's the most skilled in magic. Odin used mainly magic to catch glimpses of the future, as Neil Price explains. He, Odin, is described as falling into trances, as leaving his body behind, and traveling abroad in the spirit form of an animal, and several times as having visions of wisdom provoked by various kinds of ordeal. Interesting. This kind of divination ties in very well with Odin's role as advisor and would have been of much interest to Viking Age rulers. The nature of Odin's magic, moreover, often causes him to be seen as a shaman, an aspect which is further bolstered by his function as a god of healing. That thing looks cool. History is fun. Cult of Odin? Wait a minute. Belief in Odin was so widespread throughout Germanic regions and parallels between him and the Indian god Varuna so unmistakable that it is likely his origins lie all the way back in the Indo-Germanic tradition. Already in the Bronze Age, do Swedish rock carvings depict figures of a god holding a spear, who with some imagination might be linked to Odin, and by at least 500 CE, he clearly shows up on a range of ornaments alongside birds and warriors. Viking Age picture stones carry on this trend and depict him riding to Valhalla, among other things. However, when bearing in mind his later status as top dog in Norse mythology, actual tangible evidence of a cult of Odin is quite sparse. Places named after Odin, a decent indicator of cult practices and popularity, are entirely absent in Iceland between its settlement and the coming of Christianity, and very rare in the south of Norway, although they pop up here and there in the south of Sweden and in Denmark. Thor, in contrast, steals all the limelight and is much more visible in a cult context than his father. Luckily, Rudolf Simek has a way to soothe our confusion. Oh, that's good. Indeed, it seems likely that the literary sources considered him to have such an elevated position from their own point of view, since there can be no doubt that Odin was the god of poetry and poets, and our sources, which come either directly or indirectly, via Snorri's systemization, from the skalds of heathen times, not surprisingly show a particular inclination in favor of the god of their own craft. The heathen. So, rather than there being an all-encompassing cult of Odin as the main god of Norse mythology, it makes more sense that he was venerated in specific contexts and by specific individuals, mostly poets, warriors, chieftains, and kings. Grisly human sacrifices, for instance, tend to be exclusively dedicated to Odin. Human sacrifices? Oh. Otherwise, in Viking Age belief, he was just one of the gang. This is visually spelled out in the great pagan temple of Old Uppsala in Sweden, too, in 1070 CE. Adam of Bremen wrote of his visit to this place that a statue of Thor stood prominently in the center of the hall with Odin and Freyr to the side, and that sacrifices were made to Thor in case of famine, to Odin in times of war, and to Freyr for wedding-related activities. Please don't sacrifice me. Norse mythology refers to the Scandinavian mythological framework that was upheld during and around the time of the Viking Age, 790 to 1100 CE, complete with a creation myth that has the first god slaying a giant and turning his body parts into the world. That's a different start to the world than what I've heard. Anyway, various realms spread out beneath the world tree, what is Yggdrasil, and the eventual destruction of the known world in the Ragnarok. The Nordic mythological world is both complex and comprehensive. I'll say it's polytheistic pantheon, headed by the one-eyed Odin, contains a great number of different gods and goddesses who were venerated in customs integrated into the ancient Scandinavians' daily lives. Viking Ruin Stone. So I'm going to leave the links down in the description below, just because this would be a lot to read through to explain the entire religion to you. However, I will of course leave the link and you can come and check it out. But that's a definite red flag to me. The gods and their foes die left, right, and center until the giant searcher goes pyromaniac and kindles the world fire that destroys everything. Luckily, Phoenix style, the destruction is not the end. Following a cyclical concept of the world, a new world rises, not from the ashes, but from the sea. Only a handful of gods are still standing, but the new world will have a new generation of gods, as well as humankind, to live happily ever after. Interesting. What is bone reading? Bone reading is a form of divination that uses animal bones, nuts, shells, and curios such as dice or beads, collectively known as bones, to divine information. Each individual bone or piece has a specific meaning assigned to it, usually by virtue of the characteristics of the animal the bone comes from or the part of the body represented by the bone. For example, because water buffaloes were known to be migratory animals, the water buffalo tooth is often associated with travel. In addition, a raccoon penis bone is associated with sex and sexuality for obvious reasons. Other items such as keys, horseshoe charms, coins, roots, pyrite, etc. may also be added for their symbolic value. In times past, the bones were often tossed into a circle drawn on the ground. However, modern bone readers are more inclined to toss them onto a specially marked cloth. Sometimes, this cloth may even be the hide of an animal, and this aspect of bone reading will be discussed in further detail below. The role of the ancestors. Many bone readers maintain that reading the bones requires a relationship with the ancestors, and many readers maintain at least an ancestor altar where their bone sets are stored in a basket, large abalone shell, or leather bag, aka bone bag, when not in use. A good relationship with one's ancestors is of paramount importance, because it is not the diviner who is doing the reading so much as his or her ancestors, spirits, and guides who are speaking through the bones. Therefore, each reading should begin with a prayer to the ancestors for guidance and wisdom. So apparently the best way to acquire your bones is you can purchase them online, or go kill an animal and get it that way. So this is just kind of an example of some of the bones. So you have the fire bone, so it obviously has to do with heat stimulation and activation, and it's all about the fire signs, willpower, success in business. The earth bone is of course all about the earth signs and also birth, renewal, and healing. The air bone is all about the air signs, so I guess that would be mine because I'm a Gemini, and it's also about freedom, rapid change, strength, power, authority, the power of words, both spoken and written, communication, and expression. Interesting. The water bone is blue, and it's for the water signs. It encompasses all emotions: love, hate, pride, fear, sadness, depression, apathy, empathy, etc., the subconscious, and that which arises out of it. And then we have the spirit bone, so that's all for, of course, the spirit guides, ancestors, spirituality, religion, completion, accomplishment, wholeness, fulfillment, protection, family, a sense of belonging. You have the man bone, the woman bone, the love bone. The horseshoe is the luck bone, I guess. Then you have the pyramid, which is the bone of abundance. And as someone that does anti-MLM content, that drives me insane. The pyramid is yellow and green. It represents growth, abundance, prosperity, steady work, wealth, riches, and plenty. It can also represent the source of the querent's income. Listen, you can't be calling it the pyramid if you want to say it stands for this stuff. Ugh, that hurts my head so much. The key, the bone of opportunity, the evil eye, the bone of loss, and the crossroad, the bone of choices. So you have a way to read them upright or reverse, so I guess, they mean something each way that they fall. People get them blessed. Some people throw them onto a circle drawn on the ground, and apparently wherever they land, that of course means something, along with the colors that land there. Here's another kind of like example of that way. And now we're showing the animal hide. So basically you throw it on there and it will tell you what happened based on, of course, where it falls on the animal hide. And again, I will leave this link down in the description if you're interested in coming and really reading into it. We'll be here for 5 hours if I do that. I'm not Suit Yourself. I do shorter videos. Here we have bone scrying, and that's not a way that a lot of bone readers practice, I guess, but it involves the interpretation of the patterns in which the bones fall despite the individual meaning of the bone itself. So it's more about how they fall down and how they fall with each other, what shape they make, how many bones, I guess, a few at random and toss them to read. Most of the time you do all the bones though, and it doesn't really say how many. I guess just go buy them online, guys. The importance of ritual. So there has to be some kind of ritual to this whole bone throwing thing. And then they explain their bone reading ritual and their relationships, what everything means, what it means when, certain ones kind of fall together, because of course that all means something. Beginner bone reading techniques. So if you're interested in learning how to do a bone reading, this will help you. And here we have addressing a specific question. So you can apparently ask bones a very specific question and they will answer it for you if that's something you believe in. And of course, they also have the tarot bone reading. So you do tarot cards and bones, and it explains all that and what that means. And then here is just a sample reading just to give you a little bit of a look at, one of the things that you can kind of like say. I guess if there's any doubt about the topmost verse, you can also read those verses that follow and are also covered by the bone. They are, O Lord God of my salvation, I have cried day and night before thee. Let my prayer come before thee. Incline thine ear unto my cry. For my soul is full of troubles, and my life draweth nigh unto the grave. I am counted with them that go down into the pit. I am a man that hath no strength, free among the dead, like the slain that lie in the grave, whom thou rememberest no more, and they are cut off from the land. And I guess you just picture the words being spoken, and then you throw your bones, and then you got a bone and you're good to go. So guys, I will leave the links down to this in the description if you do want to come and check it out. I could not really find much of a connection between bone reading and the whole, Norse mythology thing. I'm still looking for that. So if anyone out there has any information on that, that would be wonderful. I would love to see what the connection is between those things. I am also going to be doing a video where we're going to be looking at witchcraft and, you know, where that comes from. Why is everyone a witch right now? I've decided I'm just going to branch out into looking at all of the holistic and crystal readings and all that kind of fun stuff, along with MLMs and bad business practices, because I just think it's fun to debunk all of this. However, I'm not here to really debunk this as a religion. I believe in mythology. You know, it's something that people believed in years ago. I don't think that we should really be celebrating it today, because, you know, we don't really have a place for Greek mythology or Norse mythology today, or Germanic mythology today. I don't want to start, you know, beheading people that do me wrong, although I will cut a bitch, but I will not be beheading anyone that does me wrong. So, you know, I just don't think we should go back there. However, you believe what you believe, and you are free to do so. Just don't try to get me to believe it along with you, and we be good. So guys, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, I hope that you are all having a fabulous day. Once again, links are in the description down below. Come follow me on social media. Please give this video a like, subscribe if you're new, because I got so much planned coming for this channel. You're not going to want to miss anything, so make sure you hit that notification bell, put it to all. I'm kind of random with videos. I pump out as many as I can. I just promise there'll always be a video Monday and Friday, and I've also been working on Wednesday as well. However, I like to post every single day if I can, because that's what you do when you're a YouTuber. So I will see you in the next one. I hope you enjoyed this, and please do let me know if you know any information about bone reading or about any of this Norse mythology and why they're connected. I would love to hear from you. Again, you can get a hold of me from the links in the description. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye!